I know that some of you haven't finished question 3. That's okay. I want to give you an example so that you can move on to questions 4 and 5 as well. Um, Towards the end of the lesson, I'm going to do a little bit more conceptual work before we end it. So it's okay if you haven't quite finished. So in this example here, I'll zoom up to start with so you can see it. This is not one of those exact value angles. We don't know what x is. We do know that the cosine of x is equal to 0.4. Now, importantly, because there's always someone in the room that wants to do this, you do not need to work out x. You do not need to work out the angle. Yes, I know you've got a calculator and you could go inverse cos and then you could work out what the angle is, but that is not what is asked, and it gets in the way of you being able to do what you need to do. Okay, so we are going to work with cos x equals 0.4. So we're given the trig result, and now we're asked to find cos of pi plus x for part 1 and part 2, the cos of negative x. So the process is literally almost identical, really. It's just that we need to recognize what's happening in the drawings. So the cosine of pi plus x as a drawing is going to look like this. Pi gets me to there, and there's the extra x. So this whole thing is pi plus x. Now, again, I wouldn't actually draw it like that. I'm trying to do it for the visual. So I would just go like this. That's all I would do for my graph. Okay, so once we've got the graph, then we can go, okay, I get it. Cos of pi plus x is going to be the same as cos of x, the reference angle in this case, but it's in the third quadrant, so x coordinates are negative, so it's going to be negative cos x, which means that the final answer is going to be, negative 0.4. It's as simple as that, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily get it. So does anyone have any questions about that? Again, the diagram is an aid to understanding. If you choose not to use the diagram, that's no skin off my nose, as long as you're getting them all right. Otherwise, draw a tiny little diagram to make sure your thinking is really straight. It also helps me understand when your thinking is not straight, where you've come from. Part 2, the cosine of negative x. Quick drawing of the picture puts my x down here. So it's 0 and then minus x. So that angle down there is x. So now I can say that the cos of negative x is equal to just cos of x, right? Because in the fourth quadrant, cosine is positive. We're on the right-hand side of the y-axis, so the x-coordinate is positive. And cosine of x is 0.4, because that was given to us in the problem, and we are done. That's the kind of style of what we have to do. Does anyone have any questions about that? 2 quick things to say. Then I'm sorry, I'm keeping you up. There's these things called symmetry properties. There they are. Sine pi minus theta equals sine theta. Cos pi minus theta equals negative cos theta. Tan pi minus theta equals negative tan theta, etc. That's quadrant 2. Then there's similar ones for 3 and 4. You know what? Feel free to write them all down and memorize them, then use them. Go for it. I personally would not do that. I would forget at least half of them. And I think it's a lot easier just to conceptualize what's happening with a tiny diagram than trying to keep a track of 9 different symmetry properties, plus there's more symmetry properties to come. Okay, so again, you want to memorize them, you go for it. But I would suggest learn why they work, because then you can construct it for yourself really quickly. And that is the last thing I wanted to say for the video.